Do you think daily masturbation is just a habit or a stress reliever? Think again. What happens silently within your body, especially in your prostate, might be one of the most direct and surprising links between your lifestyle and your long-term health. I am Dr. Evelyn Ross. Today we are going to determine if your daily ritual is healing you or placing you at risk. Most people only worry about the prostate when problems start, usually after age 40 or 50. However, the choices you make today, including how often you masturbate, are actively modulating the future of that vital gland. Before you jump to any moralistic conclusion, let me be clear. This is not a moral judgment. This is pure health biology and psychology. Moderation, excess, and absence can have completely opposite effects. You need to know your Goldilocks zone. That is exactly what we will map out. We will start with the part most people ignore, the crucial importance of what the prostate actually does. We will examine why the frequency of ejaculation acts as a cleansing agent, but only up to a certain point. Then we will delve into the effects of excess. I guarantee you did not expect that the downside involves both neurochemistry and physical strain. Finally, we will complete the cycle with the ideal frequency. This is the frequency science suggests, not just for maintaining a healthy prostate, but for improving your overall well-being. I will show you the research that broke down this magic number. Curious to know if you are on the limit? Excellent. Let's open the first loop and discuss the primary function that makes the prostate so sensitive to the frequency of your sexual activity. The prostate is small, the size of a walnut, and sits just below the bladder. Its main function is to produce prostatic fluid, which makes up about 30% of semen volume. Think of it as the powerhouse that ensures sperm have the right environment. This includes the ideal pH and adequate nutrients to survive and be effective. If this gland is not working well, the entire reproductive system suffers. Now, what happens when you masturbate regularly? Ejaculation acts as an extraordinary self-cleaning system for the prostate. Imagine the prostate as a small reservoir. When fluids and metabolically active cells accumulate, these residues need to be expelled. Ejaculation does exactly this. It flushes the reservoir. Researchers coined the term exhaustion hypothesis to describe how frequent ejaculation can dilute and remove carcinogens. These are substances that could potentially cause cancer, which might stagnate inside the prostatic ducts. This is a mechanical benefit. When you have constant renewal, you reduce the contact time between these potentially harmful agents and the prostatic cells. This lowers the probability of mutation and chronic inflammation. Regular ejaculation frequency has been linked in major studies, such as one from Harvard, to a significantly reduced risk of prostate cancer. This research followed over 30,000 men for 18 years. Pay attention to that 18-year duration. They found that men who ejaculated an average of 21 times or more per month, meaning almost every day, had an approximately 31% lower risk of developing prostate cancer. This is compared to those who ejaculated 4 to 7 times per month. This number is too robust to ignore. Masturbation, or any ejaculation, is a biological drainage mechanism, a defense system. But here's the first paradox, which is where most people go wrong. If 21 times is good, then 25 or 30 must be even better, right? This is where biology begins to take its toll. We enter the trap of excess, which can, believe it or not, lead to a different type of prostate issue. What happens when you exceed what your body considers regular and enter the excessive zone? The prostate, although designed to secrete and eject fluids, is composed of glandular muscle tissue. Performing this function repeatedly, several times a day, every day, can introduce stress. Think of the prostate like any other muscle in the body. If you train a bicep 4 times a week, it gets strong. If you subject it to intense workouts twice a day, every day, it enters a state of exhaustion, inflammation, and micro-injuries. In the case of the prostate, excess can lead to something called recurrent prostatitis, which is inflammation of the gland. Unlike a bacterial infection, this is non-bacterial prostatitis. It is often caused by chronic irritation or congestion. The symptoms are uncomfortable: pain in the pelvic region, discomfort when urinating or ejaculating, and a heavy sensation. There is another layer, which is purely neurochemical, and it has a direct impact on your daily life. Masturbation is not just a physical act. It is a massive cerebral event. Orgasm floods your brain with a cascade of powerful neurotransmitters, mainly dopamine, followed by oxytocin and prolactin. It is dopamine that builds the addictive pleasure and reward cycle, but prolactin, which is released after orgasm, is the key to what science calls the refractory period. This is the moment when you simply have no interest or capacity for another sexual stimulus. When you masturbate excessively, you are constantly elevating prolactin. This can, ironically, lead to a decrease in baseline libido. It causes you to feel the need for stronger stimuli to feel the same level of pleasure. It can also cause a more prolonged and intense post-ejaculation lethargy. Your reward system becomes worn out. It is a vicious cycle. You seek dopaminergic relief, but you flood the system with prolactin. This generates tiredness. At a prostatic level, it can exacerbate mechanical irritation due to the constant demand on the ducts and secretive cells. So it is a dilemma. Less than 4 to 7 times a month increases the risk of buildup and carcinogens, but much more than the daily average can lead to inflammation and neurochemical dysregulation. Where is the sweet spot? To map the Goldilocks zone, we need to return to epidemiological studies. This time, we will look more closely at general well-being, not just cancer prevention. The most relevant study on prostate health, which measured ejaculation frequency and prostate cancer risk, established that the most protective range was around 21 ejaculations per month. This averages 5 to 6 times per week. Note, it does not necessarily have to be 1 time per day. You can have days off and days of higher activity. What matters is the monthly average. But science does not stop at disease prevention. We need to include the prevention of a silent enemy that affects most modern men: chronic stress. Ejaculation is clinically proven to be an effective stress reducer. When you reach orgasm, muscle tensions release, the heart rate calms down after the peak, and the release of oxytocin and endorphins acts as a potent pain reliever and anxiety reducer. It is a powerful agent of homeostasis, which is the body's internal balance. Chronic stress is a catalyst for systemic inflammation throughout the body, and the prostate is no exception. Cortisol, the stress hormone, when elevated, contributes to a pro-inflammatory internal environment. Therefore, masturbation, by being a safe and immediate means of stress management, indirectly protects the prostate by decreasing the body's general inflammatory environment. Here is a mini hook. The ideal frequency, therefore, is not just about emptying the gland, but about managing the brain. And what happens if you decide to stop completely? If you opt for prolonged abstinence, hoping for miraculous results? Many online communities defend seminal retention, or NoFap, promising peaks of energy and focus. While there are potential psychological benefits linked to self-control, biologically, the prostate begins to suffer. If the gland continues to produce prostatic fluid, but there is no regular drainage, this fluid accumulates. This stagnation can lead to the calcification of secretions, forming amyloid bodies inside the prostate. These hardened deposits may not be malignant, but they significantly increase the risk of infection and chronic inflammation. It is like having stagnant water in a pipe. Sooner or later, toxicity and blockages appear. Furthermore, prolonged inactivity can lead to a condition called pelvic floor syndrome, or a bacterial prostatitis, due to the chronic tension of the muscles. When the body repeatedly anticipates release but it does not happen, the pubococcygeus muscles and those around the prostate become tense. This generates pain and discomfort that is often confused with severe urinary problems. Therefore, abstinence, particularly forced or very prolonged abstinence, does not confer the same preventive benefits as regular ejaculation. The body needs this release, both chemically and mechanically. The secret, as in almost everything in life, lies in rhythm, consistency, and individuality. Let's consolidate this. You hear about 21 times per month, which seems like a good target for physical health. But I want to give you a practical assessment tool so that this information is immediately useful. You need to assess 3 factors. If one of them is out of balance, you need to readjust. The first factor is physical. Do you feel recurrent pain or irritation when masturbating or urinating? If the frequency is causing physical discomfort, the prostate may be irritated or inflamed. Reduce the frequency and intensity for a period and monitor the symptoms. This is a direct sign of prostatic overtraining. The second factor is mental. Is masturbation preventing you from doing other important activities such as work, exercise, or social interaction? If it has become a compulsion that takes time and energy that should be spent elsewhere, you have crossed the negative neurochemical line. You are using dopamine to evade, not to reward. This signals the need to restructure habits. The third factor, and perhaps the most subtle, is the quality of your sleep and your basal energy. Orgasm, especially the male one, should be followed by deep relaxation. If you feel that your frequency is resulting in chronic tiredness, insomnia, or lethargy, it is a sign that your endocrine and nervous systems are being overloaded by the constant hormonal release, especially prolactin. Daily or near daily masturbation, when done in moderation and without obsession, is one of the best preventive agents a man can have against prostate cancer. It is a washing, cellular detoxification, and stress management process. The danger does not lie in the frequency itself. 21 times a month is an excellent and scientifically validated number, but in compulsion and technique. You need to ensure you are maintaining adequate hydration, which helps the quality of the prostatic fluid. You also need to ensure that your sexual activity is not a source of anxiety or guilt. The psychosomatic aspect has a surprising effect on prostate health. Stress and emotional tension can manifest as pelvic pain and inflammation. In summary, what happens to the prostate of someone who masturbates every day within the limits of health and moderation is essentially a deep and preventive cleaning. Your risk of prostate cancer is lower, and your body is more capable of dealing with stress. You are using your own biological system as a health tool. The challenge today, if you are in the high frequency range, is to ensure you are not crossing into the territory of compulsion or physical exhaustion. Monitor those 3 signs: pain, compulsion, and energy. Use the established frequency as your golden rule. An average of 5 to 6 times a week is a powerful protective shield. And remember, prostate health is a long-term project. It is not determined by a week of habits, but by healthy consistency over years. Now that you have uncovered the complete cycle, from cleansing to neurochemical regulation, you have the power to optimize your own biology. What happens to the prostate of someone who masturbates every day in a healthy manner is that it becomes more resilient, cleaner, and significantly less prone to developing the disease that most worries the male public. This is a benefit that goes far beyond immediate pleasure. It integrates directly into your longevity and quality of life. You have just learned how to transform a private habit into a powerful health strategy.